Today, I'm going to be taking a first look at the Week 3 NFL DraftKings main slate. And what I like to do is go position by position, talking about each play that's sticking out to me here early on in the week. And then we'll wrap up the video by putting together a first look cash lineup and a first look tournament lineup. With that being said, let's dive right into it. And we're going to kick things off here at the quarterback position. Now, the first thing you'll notice here, Mahomes has a really good matchup at home against Chicago, Josh Allen on the road against the Washington Commanders, and Lamar Jackson at home against the Indianapolis Colts. I don't mind any one of those guys. Would prefer Mahomes of the three here early on in the week, but there are really four quarterbacks that I want to highlight here on this video today. First being Justin Herbert. I really like this game in general between the Chargers and Minnesota. Playing in Minnesota here, so playing indoors. A lot of shootout potential in this game. It's likely going to be popular not only from a cash game, but also a tournament perspective. Herbert here at $7,500, I certainly don't mind that price tag. Easy to stack him up with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Even sounds like Austin Eckler could be back here this week. Don't mind him in that matchup. But Kirk Cousins here at $6,900 really caught my eye. Not only from a tournament perspective, but I think he could even be cash viable here this week. I usually don't roster a guy like Kirk Cousins in my cash lineup. I look for a quarterback like a Jalen Hurts or a Josh Allen who provides that rushing upside. Even an Anthony Richardson now. You know, Kirker's not going to get you 40 rushing yards and a touchdown week in and week out, but I do like the way he's played here in the first 2 weeks, and it seems like it's going to be another season here where Minnesota's going to have to air it out if they're going to want to stay competitive in these games, and that's really what we've seen here from the Chargers in their first two games against Miami and Tennessee, and both those quarterbacks in Tannehill and Tua played pretty well against those secondaries. So Kirk for sure is going to be a tournament option there at $6,900, but again, might even be able to consider him in cash this week. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I do like him at that price tag. The more reasonable cash gameplay that stuck out to me here early on in the week is probably going to be Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns. Really like the matchup against the Tennessee Titans. That secondary is not very good. We've seen that for 2 straight weeks, and they were one of the worst secondaries in the NFL all of last year. $6,100. He's not getting any price adjustments here because he plays on Monday night. I guess he got a $100 price increase from week 1, but we need about 18.3 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value in cash. He's even someone I could consider in tournaments there, especially if Amari Cooper's going to be back. He's missing here on Monday night, but in terms of cash games, I think Deshaun Watson here at $6,100 at home against Tennessee was my favorite initial play. And then directly below that, I don't mind Russell Wilson as a tournament play. You can kind of tell there's a little hesitation in my voice there because I don't love putting my money on the Broncos after the year they had last season, but considering the price here at $5,900, considering the matchup on the road against Miami, who can put up a lot of points really against anybody, and you kind of look at this and go, okay, there might be some shootout potential in this game, or at the very least, maybe Russ has to air it out 30, 35 plus times in this game, kind of like he has the first 2 weeks. He's coming fresh off a game where he did put up 31 DraftKings points. You know, I certainly don't mind that at that price of $5,900. Again, a first initial look here. Like I said, I really like that game between the Chargers and Minnesota. I think Deshaun Watson sitting at a really nice price and a really nice matchup at home against Tennessee. If I had to guess, he'll be the cash game favorite heading into the week. And then again, maybe we sprinkle in some Russell Wilson. But a first initial look here, those were the 4 quarterbacks that stuck out to me. Let's move on to the running backs. And the first thing that stuck out to me here at the running back position was kind of the big 3 or 4 at the top. I don't love Nick Chubb in this matchup against Tennessee. They have a very stout run defense, but Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, and Bijan Robinson, those look like the tier 1 plays heading into week 3. Odds are I'll want to get at least one of those guys in my cash lineup here this week, and we might even be able to pay up for 2 running backs, considering the initial look here showed quite a bit of value at the wide receiver position, and I'll touch on that here in just a few minutes. But I also wouldn't mind spending up for a guy like Travis Etienne, sitting in a good home matchup against the Houston Texans, who he played very well against last year, kind of on limited touches, and we can likely ignore this questionable tag here as he just had cramps on Sunday. Really not too worried about that. Now, 2 tournament running backs that kind of caught my eye here initially stand right next to each other in Jahmyr Gibbs and James Cook. For starter here with Gibbs and the Detroit Lions. Sounds like David Montgomery is going to miss a couple of weeks due to a quad injury, we could really see this guy kind of take off here this week and get quite a few more touches. Really like the targets he saw in week 2, though. 9, that's likely unsustainable, but it just shows you the upside this guy could have week in and week out, and I certainly don't mind that matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. Just hopefully it's not too slow of a game. And then James Cook here. I love the volume he got last week. You can see there's 17 rushing attempts, 4 targets. The issue with him, he's not getting the goal line work right now. It went to both Damian Harris and Latavius Murray. Seems like James Cook is going to have to work his way into that role. I don't even know if he's going to see it all year long, barring those other two don't get injured. And then I also like Kenneth Walker there at $6,200. Wasn't super efficient against the Detroit Lions, ended up punching in 2 touchdowns to kind of salvage his day, but I think I'm going to like that matchup against Carolina. I want to see how they respond here tonight on Monday, but their run defense was not very good against the Atlanta Falcons in week 1. We saw both Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson run all over them, so if we see that here tonight where the Carolina defense just isn't very good at stopping the run, I think Kenneth Walker there at $6,200 could also be in play. And there's a few others here in the 6 to 5K range that I think have some nice appeal. We saw Raheem Mostert have a really good game on Sunday night against the Patriots. 121 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, put up almost 29 DraftKings points. Brian Robinson looked really good against the Denver Broncos. He punched into himself almost 29 DraftKings points. But the last guy that I wanted to highlight here for the initial look was Zach Moss of the Indianapolis Colts. Coming back from that broken forearm, he took over as the #1 running back right away here in week 2. 18 rushing attempts, 4 targets, caught all 4 of those balls, found the end zone as well, and albeit a tougher matchup here this week, on the road against the Baltimore Ravens compared to last week against the Houston Texans at $5,500, I think he could be a consideration again. We need, what, 16.5 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value? He's shown he's clearly capable of doing that. Now, folks, before we dive into the wide receiver plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. We're on the road here to 4,000 subscribers at DraftKings Sports, so help us out if you can. Also want to mention that I have a Discord channel as well. A great group of people in there, almost 600 people, talking a number of different DFS sports with a real focus around prize picks and sports betting too. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below. Plus, we're trying to enhance the entertainment here on DraftKings Sports as well. One of the ways we did that here this past summer was brought the new segment called Mulligan Masters. Here's a little preview to that.
You just got a little kiss.
Yeah, a little smooch on the way by.
We're playing it slow.
Forehead is getting roasted out here. Farmfield. So.
Crisis averted.
What's your name? Who's your dad?
Are you Macho Man Randy Savage?
Yeah, I was aiming for that thing.
Because what?
Is that me? What?
Not with that attitude. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Mulligan Masters. So we got DFS coming your way, sports betting coming your way, plus a whole new segment of entertainment on DraftKings Sports. Again, if you could like and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate that. Now let's dive into the wide receivers. And right off the bat here, just like the running backs, there's kind of a tier 1 section that you see initially. Really, in my opinion, it's from Keenan Allen up. Now, obviously, there's quite a bit of price discrepancy there too, about what, a $1,700 difference between Keenan Allen and Justin Jefferson. I'd love to pay up for JJ and or Tyreek Hill here this week in my cash lineup. For sure want exposure there in tournaments. Could even go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think I'm going to prefer Jahmyr Gibbs here this week with Monty out. Don't mind CeeDee Lamb against Arizona, but again, going back to this matchup here between the Chargers and Minnesota, I really quite like these Chargers wide receivers. And I might even like Mike Williams a little bit more because you get that price savings over Keenan Allen, especially if he's going to be getting 13 targets like he saw last week against Tennessee. You know, both those guys are going to be able to win in that matchup against that secondary for Minnesota. And believe you me, I am a Minnesota fan. You can see the MN right there. That defense is going to cause us issues all season long. So again, we kind of got a tier 1 section here of Keenan Allen and above, and then there's kind of a tier tier 2 section here with Jalen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, Chris Olave, and DK Metcalf. That's kind of the tier 2 section in my opinion. Honestly, I don't love it. I don't hate it either. Probably more of a tournament section in my opinion. I'd rather just pay up for Keenan Allen in my cash lineup or go down to Mike Williams. Yeah, I'd love to go back to Calvin Ridley here. He kind of fell off a little bit after that big week 1, but what you like to see is the targets were still there. Went from 11 to 8, but if he's going to be 8+ week in and week out, he's definitely going to be someone that we're considering week in and week out. Chris Olave, I don't know if I love the matchup there against Green Bay. Probably see a little bit of Jair Alexander in that matchup. DK Metcalf, again, want to see what this Carolina defense looks like here tonight. Not entirely sure if J.C. Horn is going to be back in week 3. If he is for Carolina, probably a bump down to someone like DK Metcalf. The next guy that I really wanted to highlight here, surprisingly, is Michael Pittman Jr. Look at the targets he's gotten here in the first 2 weeks, albeit we got Gardner Minshew for most of the game here in week 2. He had 11 targets in week 1 with Anthony Richardson, so whoever the quarterback is here in week 3 with Richardson in concussion protocol right now, I don't know if he's going to play or not, but honestly, I don't know if it matters. It looks like the volume's going to go Pittman's way, whoever the quarterback is. Again, really like Mike Williams' volume last week. He got 13 targets. I want to highlight these 2 rookie wide receivers here as well. I don't know if I'd go with Jordan Addison in my cash lineup, but I think Zay Flowers has made enough noise and seen enough volume in the first 2 weeks where we could consider him. But again, I go back to this game between Minnesota and the Chargers. There's a lot of shootout potential here playing indoors. Addison at $5,500, not a bad price tag, especially for someone who scored in each of his first 2 NFL games. He's seen 5+ targets, and honestly, I think that number's just going to continue to go up, especially after the drops that KJ Osborne had for Minnesota last Thursday night against the Eagles. He's been running as wide receiver number 2. I wouldn't be shocked if Addison hops him on the depth chart heading into week 3. And then again, Zay Flowers, I do think he's cash game viable, like him in tournaments as well. He's the number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion, number 2 pass catcher, just behind Mark Andrews in that Baltimore offense. So both those rookies playing pretty damn well so far to start their NFL careers. And then a few more value plays here in the low 5K range, 4K range. First is Nico Collins. You can see here the volume is going his way. The connection between him and CJ Stroud is clearly building week in and week out. 20 total targets here in the first 2 weeks, but don't discount Robert Woods either. I know he's older here now, Bobby Trees, but 19 targets himself in the first 2 weeks. Don't mind those scores at all considering the price. That's essentially 3x value at that price. That's what we're looking for in cash. I also think Elijah Moore here at $4,700 could be interesting. At home against Tennessee, really like that matchup, and I'll like him even more if Amari Cooper does not play. Again, he is not playing here on Monday night. And then one more wide receiver that I wanted to highlight is Josh Reynolds here of the Detroit Lions. You can see 6 and 7 targets here in his first 2 games, scored 2 touchdowns last week. He's not going to do that week in and week out, but it shows you the upside that he has. Again, at $4,200, 12+ DraftKings points in both games. I don't know if we can go there and cash quite yet, but if he keeps playing like that, it's not going to be long before we consider him. Now, moving over here to the tight ends, we got the big 3 on the main slate this week here with Kelsey, Hawkinson, and Andrews. Really just missing George Kittle to highlight the big 4, and I have no problem spending up for those guys, but that's more of a tournament play for me. I typically spend down for tight end in my cash lineup, barring one of those guys aren't sitting at incredible value. Look, if Travis Kelce's $5,800, then yeah, I'm probably going to go that route, but $7,200, I'd probably just prefer to spend down. With that being said, I don't mind Evan Ingram here at $4,800, but the first guy that I wanted to really highlight here was Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. Clearly got a connection with Mac Jones, scored a touchdown in each of his first 2 games this year, 6+ targets in each game, 16+ DraftKings points. That's 4x value at that price there of $4,100. You know, I'm not banking on him to score a touchdown week in and week out, but the upside is clearly going to be there this year with Hunter Henry, considering the connection he does have with Mac Jones. Sam Laporta, this is probably more of a tournament play for me, but again, the Lions clearly want to highlight this guy in their offense, even though he is a rookie tight end. 5+ targets in each game, 5+ receptions. Yeah, he's going to score a touchdown here sooner than later. Again, probably more of a tournament play for me, but absolutely going to be on my tight end radar. Hayden Hurst, want to see how he plays here tonight. Looked really good in week 1 with Bryce Young. Kind of a security blanket for Bryce Young. He runs those short intermediate routes. Can be a little dump off for Bryce Young. I hope that happens again here tonight because I would play him at that price, $3,800, especially considering the Seahawks have kind of notoriously struggled against tight ends. Zach Ertz here at $3,500. He's an older tight end, that's for sure, but the volume has been there the first 2 weeks with Josh Dobbs. 10 targets in week 1, 8 targets last week, almost got 12 DraftKings points. If you're going to give me someone at $3,500 who's getting close to 10 targets per week, I don't care if they're 58 years old. I'm looking for that volume, and Zach Ertz has definitely got that, so he's on my radar once again. Now, if you want to save a little money off of that, there's one guy here in Mike Gesicki at $2,900 who I don't mind either. Again, I prefer Hunter Henry if you can find that extra money, but you can clearly see here he's running routes. Actually, they show that here. He was on the field for 53 of the 74 snaps, running a route on most of those as well. 6 targets last week, $2,900. That's really punting at the tight end position. You basically need 9 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value, and even if he doesn't get there, you know you're punting the position, so it's not a huge deal. And then the last positional play here, the defense is going to keep this short and sweet. You guys know I typically don't spend up for defense in my cash lineup, barring I don't have crazy money left over. Not going to force anything in tournaments either. You can see the Cowboys are now $4,400. Playing Arizona here this week, but let's scroll down to the 3K range. If I can get up to Cleveland against Tennessee at home, I certainly don't mind that. I also don't mind the Seahawks at home against a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young. Again, Bryce Young playing again here on Monday night. Gonna have a little shorter week to prepare, but the defense that really stuck out to me here was the New York Jets. They got a lot of playmakers on the back end. Sure, they kind of got beat up a little bit by Dallas last week, but they're playing back at home here this week. Mac Jones hasn't been incredible so far in his NFL career. I think they can get after him a little bit, and at $2,800, I would be willing to spend that. All right, now let's put together a first look cash lineup here. Again, I thought that Deshaun Watson was going to be the favorite heading into the week, so let's lock him in here right now. $6,100 in a good matchup against Tennessee. I actually quite like that. Now, I mentioned earlier I'd like to jam in 1 or 2 higher-priced running backs if possible. Bijan got a higher workload last week. I think that's going to increase as the season progresses. Let's put him in there for now. I also like Travis Etienne there too. So $4,800 left over per player, but we have some nice value at the wide receiver position this week. I do want to get in one of those wide receivers for the Chargers, so I'm going to put in Mike Williams due to the price savings over Keenan Allen. Let's go down here a little bit into the 4K range. Let's go with Bobby Trees. I like the volume he's gotten from CJ Stroud, likely playing from behind in that game against the Jags. You get a little run back there with ETN too. And I know I mentioned that he might not be a cash game consideration yet, but due to the price savings, let's put in Josh Reynolds. You get a little run back there with Bijan as well. And I don't want to get too tournament crazy here in my cash lineup, but it certainly does work out. Now, tight end, we're just going to spend down at the tight end position. Let's go with Hayden Hurst here at $3,800. Again, I want to see what he looks like here on Monday night, but if he's going to be getting, again, close to 15 DraftKings points week in and week out, I'll absolutely take that at that price. Let's put in the Jets defense too. That leaves us with $8,000 left over. Boom. Tony Pollard, put him in the flex spot. You get 3 high-priced running backs, some value wide receivers, and Deshaun Watson too. $0 remaining. Honestly, I don't mind how this looks at all. Considering it's Monday here for an early look cash lineup, I'll take it. And then let's put together a first look tournament lineup. I've talked about this Chargers-Minnesota game quite a bit here today, so let's build a game stack around that. We'll go with Kirko Chains here at $6,900, and let's stack them up with this top 2 wide receivers. I certainly have no problem going with TJ Hawkinson, but I also know he's going to have a tough matchup against Derwin James on Sunday, so I kind of like going with Addison and JJ there. And then let's put in Mike Williams as well at $6,000 as a run back option. $4,400 left over per player. Getting a little dicey there. I'm going to put in Kenneth Walker. Mention I kind of like the matchup. Barring what I see tonight from Carolina, I think that could be a good one for him at home. And that leaves us with $4,000 left over per player. Let's put in that Jets defense again, see what that opens up for us. Not a whole lot, $4,400. Let's go back to the tight end position. We'll do a little mini stack. We got in Walker there. Let's put in Hayden Hurst again. Little run back there. And actually, let's do this on the running back side. I know things are dicey in New York right now, but Breece Hall can literally score an 80-yard touchdown at any point, at any time on the field. And you get a little mini stack there with him and his defense. So, $3,900 left over. Got to go with the wide receiver. Could go a tight end, actually, if you wanted to, and get a little different with your tournament lineup. I don't think we need to do that here, though. And maybe you do find a little bit better value there, actually. Let's go $3,900. You could go Gerald Everett, do a little double stack in Minnesota. But I'm actually going to put in, let's just go with Marvin Mims Jr. Had 2 huge catches for the Broncos yesterday. We'll just pull open his game log here quickly. You can see 23 DraftKings points for $3,900. Don't mind that to round out a first look tournament lineup with a primary focus around that game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great week here, folks. In the meantime, I'm out of here.